You do not become financially independent because you get lucky. You do not become free because motivation suddenly saves you. You become financially independent when you become the kind of person who can control your identity, control your decisions, control your emotions, and control your habits when comfort is calling your name. Your money is not just numbers. Your money is evidence. Evidence of what you repeat, what you tolerate, what you avoid, and what you choose when nobody is watching. This audiobook is not about shortcuts. It is about discipline. Because until you master yourself, your money will always master you. Chapter 1. Stop spending like you are still lost. Stop spending like you are still lost. That is the first truth you must face. Because your spending is not just about money. Your spending is a mirror. It shows you what you believe. It shows you what you fear. It shows you what you are trying to prove. It shows you whether you are building a future or escaping a feeling. Most people think they have a money problem. They say they do not earn enough. They say everything is too expensive. They say they will start saving when life gets easier. But for many people, the deeper problem is not income first. It is identity. It is control. It is direction. Because when a person does not know who they are becoming, they spend on whatever makes them feel better for a moment. They spend to feel important. They spend to feel successful. They spend to feel less behind. They spend to feel like they are doing better than they really are. But feelings are expensive when they are not controlled. Do not spend to escape. Do not spend to impress. Spend with direction. That is the key. You cannot build financial independence while using money to repair every emotional wound. You cannot become free while every bad day becomes a delivery order, every insecurity becomes a shopping cart, every paycheck becomes a celebration, and every moment of boredom becomes a transaction. You have a choice. You can keep spending like money is just something that arrives and disappears. Or you can start treating money like a tool that must be commanded. Money without direction disappears. Say that again in your mind. Money without direction disappears. It does not matter how much you earn if your habits are stronger than your plan. It does not matter how many hours you work if every paycheck is already emotionally claimed before it lands. It does not matter how badly you want freedom if your daily decisions are feeding dependence. Look at the pattern. Friday comes. The paycheck hits. You feel relief. You feel powerful for a moment. So you reward yourself. Food delivery. New clothes. Drinks. Online orders. Subscriptions you forgot about. A small upgrade here. A little treat there. You tell yourself you deserve it. You tell yourself you work hard. You tell yourself it is only this once. Then Monday comes. The money is already thin. The pressure returns. The anxiety returns. The same bills are waiting. The same goals are delayed. The same future is unfunded. And then you say, I just need to make more money. Maybe you do need to make more money. But do not lie to yourself. More money will not save the person who has not learned command. A bigger paycheck cannot protect a weak pattern. A raise will not fix a leaking identity. If you do not control the habit will control the future. Control the habit, control the future. That is the work. The issue is not that you bought coffee. The issue is not that you bought a meal. The issue is not that you bought something nice. The issue is that you are unconscious. You are not choosing. You are reacting. You are not directing money. You are releasing it. You are not building with money. You are soothing yourself with it. It is not about guilt. It is about awareness. It is not about never enjoying life. It is about earning your enjoyment through discipline. It is not about being cheap. It is about being awake. Because every dollar has a job. Every habit has a cost. You must understand this deeply. Every purchase is not just a purchase. Every purchase is a vote. A vote for the person you are becoming. When you spend without thinking, you vote for chaos. When you spend to impress, you vote for insecurity. When you spend to escape, you vote for weakness. But when you spend with direction, you vote for freedom. Ask yourself before you buy, is this building my freedom or feeding my weakness? That question will expose you. It will expose the purchases you justify. It will expose the habits you hide. It will expose the excuses you repeat. It will expose the difference between what you say you want and what you actually choose. You say you want financial independence. But do your purchases agree? You say you want peace. But do your habits agree? You say you want savings. But does your weekend agree? You say you want options. But does your lifestyle agree? That is where transformation begins. Not with a fantasy. Not with a motivational quote. Not with waiting for perfect conditions. Transformation begins when you stop lying to yourself about where your money is going and why it is going there. You do not need their permission. You do not need your friends to understand. You do not need social media to approve. You do not need to look successful to become successful. You need a plan. You need restraint. You need repetition. You need the courage to disappoint your impulses. Build before you show. That phrase must become part of your identity. Build before you show. Before you upgrade the phone, build the emergency fund. Before you impress strangers, pay down the debt. Before you chase the lifestyle, stabilize the foundation. Before you buy the symbol of success, become the substance of success. A lost person buys symbols. A disciplined person builds systems. A lost person asks, how can I feel better right now? A disciplined person asks, what will this decision cost my future? A lost person spends when emotions rise. A disciplined person pauses. That pause is power. You need to build the pause. When you want to buy something, pause. When you feel pressure to join in, pause. When you feel the need to prove you are doing well, pause. When payday hits and your brain starts creating excuses, pause. The pause is where the old identity loses control. In that pause, ask 3 questions. First, do I need this, or am I trying to change how I feel? Second, did I plan for this, or am I reacting? Third, does this move me closer to freedom or further into dependence? That is practical discipline. Not theory. Not fake wisdom. Real command. Because financial independence is not built only by investing. It is not built only by earning. It is built in the ordinary moments when nobody is watching. It is built when you choose the meal you planned instead of the expensive impulse. It is built when you cancel the subscription you do not use. It is built when you wait 24 hours before buying. It is built when you transfer money to savings before lifestyle touches it. It is built when you tell yourself, no, and you actually obey. That is the key. You must become someone you can trust with money. Not someone who needs perfect circumstances. Not someone who saves only when nothing goes wrong. Not someone who budgets for 3 days and quits. Someone who can be trusted. Trusted with a paycheck. Trusted with a raise. Trusted with a bonus. Trusted with opportunity. Because opportunity does not change you. Opportunity reveals you. If you are undisciplined with a small amount, you will be undisciplined with a larger amount. If you spend to escape with little, you will spend to escape with more. If you need applause when you are broke, you will waste even more trying to look rich. Do not spend to escape. Do not spend to impress. Spend with direction. You have a choice. You can keep using money to act like you are okay. Or you can use money to actually become okay. There is a difference. Acting okay is expensive. Becoming okay is disciplined. Acting okay buys things you cannot afford to impress people who are not responsible for your future. Becoming okay builds savings, pays obligations, learns skills, reduces pressure, and creates options. Choose freedom over comfort. Comfort says, buy it now. Freedom says, wait. Comfort says, you deserve it. Freedom says, you deserve peace more. Comfort says, everyone else is doing it. Freedom says, everyone else can stay trapped if they want to. You do not need to follow broke patterns just because they are normal. Normal is not freedom. Normal is stress. Normal is payments. Normal is pretending. Normal is waiting for payday. Normal is being one emergency away from panic. Normal is having things and no peace. You are not here to be normal. You are here to become free. So start with your spending. Track it. Face it. Direct it. For the next week, do not guess. Write it down. Every purchase. Every subscription. Every transfer. Every little leak. Do not judge it at first. Observe it. Because what you refuse to observe, you cannot control. What you cannot control, you cannot improve. And what you cannot improve will keep repeating. Then make rules. Not wishes. Rules. A rule for eating out. A rule for shopping. A rule for payday. A rule for savings. A rule for debt. A rule for waiting before non-essential purchases. A rule that says your future gets paid before your impulses get entertained. Rules protect you from moods. Because your mood is not a financial strategy. Your stress is not a financial strategy. Your boredom is not a financial strategy. Your insecurity is not a financial strategy. Direction is a strategy. Discipline is a strategy. Repetition is a strategy. Every dollar has a job. Every habit has a cost. When money comes in, assign it. Before the world touches it, assign it. Before your emotions touch it, assign it. Before your ego touches it, assign it. Rent, food, bills, debt, savings, investing, learning, giving, planned enjoyment. Every dollar must know where it is going, or it will be taken by impulse. Money without direction disappears. And when you begin to direct your money, something inside you changes. You stop feeling like life is just happening to you. You stop fearing every bill. You stop needing every purchase. You stop chasing every feeling. You begin to respect yourself. Not because you are perfect, but because you are finally in command. That is how identity changes. Not by saying, I am disciplined. By acting disciplined when it is inconvenient. Not by saying, I want freedom. By choosing freedom when comfort is tempting. Not by saying, I am serious. By proving it with your bank account, your calendar, your habits, and your restraint. You become financially independent first in private. In the quiet decision. In the delayed purchase. In the ignored temptation. In the automatic saving. In the honest review of your spending. In the refusal to perform success before you build it. Build before you show. Do not spend to escape. Do not spend to impress. Spend with direction. This is not a small lesson. This is the foundation. Because the person who cannot control spending cannot control pressure. The person who cannot control pressure cannot build wealth. The person who cannot build wealth cannot become free. You have now learned that spending is not just about money. It is about identity, command, and direction. But this is only the beginning. Because once you understand this, you must face the next truth. Chapter 2. Discipline is the price of freedom. Discipline is the price of freedom. That is the truth most people do not want to hear. They want freedom to mean doing whatever they feel like doing. They want freedom to mean buying whatever they want, sleeping whenever they want, spending whenever they want, and avoiding whatever feels uncomfortable. But that is not freedom. That is impulse. That is weakness dressed up as choice. That is the beginning of future pressure. Freedom is not created by obeying every feeling. Freedom is created by doing what your future requires. That is the key. You have a choice. You can chase comfort now and meet consequence later. Or you can practice discipline now and meet freedom later. Comfort now. Consequence later. Discipline now. Freedom later. Repeat that until it becomes part of you. Because every day, your life is asking you a question. Do you want to feel good for a moment, or do you want to become strong for a lifetime? Do you want relief, or do you want results? Do you want to be entertained, or do you want to be independent? You cannot have both in the same measure. A person who chooses comfort every day should not be surprised when life becomes uncomfortable. A person who avoids responsibility should not be surprised when responsibility returns with interest. A person who refuses discipline should not be shocked when bills, stress, debt, and dependence begin to discipline them instead. Because life will discipline you one way or another. Either you discipline yourself in private, or life disciplines you in public. Either you tell yourself no, or your bank account tells you no. Either you control the habit, or the habit controls the future. Control the habit, control the future. Most people think discipline is punishment. They hear the word discipline and imagine restriction. They imagine missing out. They imagine sacrifice. They imagine a life with no enjoyment, no rest, no pleasure, no freedom. That is a lie. Discipline is not restriction. Discipline is protection. Discipline protects your time. Discipline protects your confidence. Discipline protects your peace. Discipline protects your future. Discipline protects your choices. Discipline is the wall between your goals and your impulses. Discipline is the guard at the door of your future. Discipline is what stops a temporary emotion from creating a permanent problem. You need that protection. Because the world is not designed to make you financially free. The world is designed to make you spend. To make you compare. To make you upgrade. To make you consume. To make you feel behind. To make you believe that every desire is urgent and every inconvenience deserves a purchase. You do not need their permission to live differently. You do not need their permission to save. You do not need their permission to delay gratification. You do not need their permission to drive the older car, keep the smaller apartment, cook the simple meal, wear the same clothes, say no to the trip, cancel the subscription, or build in silence. Build before you show. That is discipline. Build before you show. A disciplined person does not need to look free before they are free. A disciplined person does not need applause for every sacrifice. A disciplined person understands that the reward is not always immediate. Sometimes the reward is quiet. Sometimes the reward is invisible. Sometimes the reward is simply knowing that you are no longer betraying your own future. That is power. Look at the worker who gets a raise. Before the raise, they complained that they could not save. They said money was too tight. They said they just needed more income. Then the raise comes. More money appears. But instead of building stability, they expand the lifestyle. They upgrade the car. They move into a more expensive apartment. They eat out more often. They buy better clothes. They increase the subscriptions. They say, "I deserve it." And maybe they do deserve good things. But they also deserve peace. They also deserve options. They also deserve not to panic when something breaks. They also deserve not to be trapped by every payment they created while trying to feel successful. That raise could have bought freedom. Instead, it bought pressure. Comfort now. Consequence later. Now look at another worker. Same raise. Same opportunity. Different identity. This person decides before the money arrives that the money already has a job. A portion goes to savings. A portion goes to debt. A portion goes to investment. A portion goes to skill building. Lifestyle may improve a little, but not before the future is funded. That person does not ask, "How can I spend more now?" They ask, "How can I become harder to control later?" That is the key. The disciplined person buys options. Not just things. Options. The option to leave a bad job without desperation. The option to handle an emergency without begging. The option to say no. The option to move. The option to invest. The option to take a calculated risk. The option to rest without panic. The option to choose. Money spent on comfort disappears. Money directed by discipline becomes power. The disciplined person buys options. You must understand this. Financial independence is not one big dramatic decision. It is hundreds of small disciplined decisions repeated until they become identity. It is waking up and doing what must be done before doing what feels good. It is checking your accounts instead of avoiding them. It is saving automatically before spending emotionally. It is working on a skill after work when you would rather scroll. It is making food at home when your mood wants convenience. It is refusing to upgrade your life just because your income increased. It is staying patient when other people are showing off. It is choosing freedom over comfort. Again, and again, and again. Choose freedom over comfort. Not once. Daily. This is where most people fail. They think discipline is something they do when they feel motivated. But discipline has nothing to do with motivation. Motivation is unstable. Motivation is emotional. Motivation disappears when you are tired, stressed, bored, or disappointed. Discipline is different. Discipline is the decision you already made before the feeling arrives. That is why you need rules. You need rules because emotions negotiate. Rules do not. A rule says, "I save 10% before I touch the rest." A rule says, "I wait 24 hours before non-essential purchases." A rule says, "I do not increase my lifestyle every time my income rises." A rule says, "I track my money every week." A rule says, "I invest in skills before I invest in appearance." A rule says, "I pay my future first." Rules protect you from moods. Discipline is not restriction. Discipline is protection. When you have no rules, every feeling gets a vote. Stress gets a vote. Boredom gets a vote. Insecurity gets a vote. Laziness gets a vote. Other people get a vote. Advertisements get a vote. Social pressure gets a vote. Then you wonder why your life feels out of your control. Because you gave your control away one exception at a time. You have a choice. Take it back. Start small, but start seriously. Do not wait until your life is perfect. Do not wait until you make more money. Do not wait until you feel ready. Discipline is built under pressure. Discipline is built when the situation is not ideal. Discipline is built when nobody claps. Discipline is built when you could make an excuse and you choose not to. That is how you become the kind of person who can be trusted with freedom. Because freedom is dangerous in the hands of an undisciplined person. Give an undisciplined person more time, and they waste it. Give an undisciplined person more money, and they spend it. Give an undisciplined person more opportunity, and they avoid the work. Give an undisciplined person more comfort, and they become softer. But give a disciplined person more time, and they build. Give a disciplined person more money, and they direct it. Give a disciplined person more opportunity, and they prepare for it. Give a disciplined person more comfort, and they do not let it weaken them. That is the difference. It is not about being perfect. It is about being governed. It is not about never wanting comfort. It is about not being owned by comfort. It is not about hating pleasure. It is about not sacrificing your future for every temporary pleasure. It is not about flawlessness. It is about discipline. You will still want things. You will still feel tired. You will still feel tempted. You will still have days when you do not want to budget, save, work, learn, train, or think long term. That is normal. But normal feelings do not have to create weak decisions. You can feel the urge and still say no. You can feel behind and still refuse to impress. You can feel stressed and still avoid emotional spending. You can feel tired and still do the small task that keeps your future alive. That is discipline. Not loud. Not glamorous. Not always exciting. But powerful. Because every time you choose discipline, you prove something to yourself. You prove that your future has authority. You prove that your feelings are not your master. You prove that comfort is not your owner. You prove that you can be trusted. And confidence grows from proof. Not fantasy. Proof. Every saved dollar is proof. Every avoided impulse is proof. Every completed task is proof. Every debt payment is proof. Every hour spent learning a skill is proof. Every disciplined decision says, I am becoming someone who cannot be easily controlled. That is what this audiobook is about. Mastering money is not just about money. It is about mastering the person who handles the money. It is about becoming calm enough to choose long-term strength over short-term relief. It is about becoming serious enough to stop trading your future for comfort. It is about becoming disciplined enough to buy options instead of appearances. The disciplined person buys options. The undisciplined person buys pressure. Remember that. Because one day, your choices will speak. The habits you repeat now will become the life you live later. The money you direct now will become the freedom you feel later. The comfort you reject now will become the power you carry later. Comfort now. Consequence later. Discipline now. Freedom later. You have now learned that discipline is not punishment, it is protection, and it is the price you pay for real freedom. But this is only the beginning. Because once you understand this, you must face the next truth. Chapter 3. Your money follows your mind. Your money follows your mind. That is the truth you must understand now. Before money becomes a number in your account, it is first a pattern in your thinking. Before it becomes saving, spending, debt, investing, pressure, or freedom, it begins as a belief. It begins as a story. It begins as the voice in your head telling you what is possible, what is normal, what you deserve, what you can control, and what you are willing to accept. If your mind is chaotic, your money will be chaotic. If your mind is avoidant, your money will be avoided. If your mind is emotional, your money will be emotional. If your mind is disciplined, your money can become disciplined. Change the mind. Change the money. Change the future. That is the key. Most people want financial change without mental change. They want more money, but they do not want more responsibility. They want less stress, but they keep repeating the thinking that creates stress. They want wealth, but they think like victims. They want independence, but they speak like people who have already surrendered. Listen carefully. If you think like a victim, you will spend like a victim. You will avoid like a victim. You will blame like a victim. You will wait like a victim. But if you think like an owner, you will manage resources with seriousness. An owner does not say, "Life is unfair, so there is nothing I can do." An owner says, "What can I direct today?" An owner does not say, "I never have enough." An owner says, "I must manage what I have better." An owner does not say, "I will start when it gets easier." An owner says, I will start with what is in front of me. The owner asks better questions. That is the key. Two people can earn the same salary and live in completely different financial realities. Same paycheck, same city, same bills, same pressure. But one person says, I never have enough. The other says, I must direct what I have better. The first person stops thinking right there. The sentence becomes a prison. I never have enough. So they do not track. They do not plan. They do not save. They do not study. They do not face the numbers. They spend to relieve stress, then feel more stress because they spent. They avoid the truth, then complain that nothing changes. What you ignore controls you. The second person asks a different question. Where is my money going? What am I repeating? What can I reduce? What skill can I build? What debt must I attack? What system can protect me from my emotions? That person may not be rich yet. That person may still feel pressure. That person may still have obstacles. But that person has shifted from helplessness to ownership. And ownership changes behavior. Change the mind. Change the money. Change the future. You have a choice. You can keep using stress as an excuse to stay unconscious. Or you can use stress as a signal to become more disciplined. Most people do the opposite. When they feel stressed, they stop looking. They stop tracking. They stop opening bills. They stop checking accounts. They stop planning. They say, I do not want to think about it. But not thinking about it does not make it disappear. Avoidance does not erase reality. Avoidance gives reality more power. What you ignore controls you. Say it again. What you ignore controls you. If you ignore your spending controls you. If you ignore your debt controls you. If you ignore your habits control you. If you ignore your emotions control you. If you ignore your time disappears. But what you measure improves. Not instantly. Not magically. Not because the numbers become easy. But because measurement creates awareness, and awareness creates control. What you measure improves. This is why the owner tracks. Not because tracking is exciting. Not because it feels good every time. The owner tracks because the owner refuses to be blind. The owner checks accounts. The owner writes down spending. The owner knows what comes in and what goes out. The owner knows which habits are draining the future. The owner knows where discipline must be applied. It is not about shame. It is about observation. It is not about guilt. It is about command. It is not about perfection. It is about ownership. You cannot manage what you refuse to see. That is why your mind matters. A weak mind hides from numbers because numbers expose behavior. A disciplined mind looks at numbers because numbers reveal the next move. The victim says, "This makes me feel bad." The owner says, "This shows me what to fix." The victim says, "I am behind." The owner says, "Then I must become more precise." The victim says, "Other people have it easier." The owner says, "Maybe. But I still have decisions to make." You do not need their permission to think like an owner. You do not need permission from your past. You do not need permission from your family. You do not need permission from your friends. You do not need permission from your old habits. You do not need permission from the people who are comfortable staying the same. If the people around you normalize chaos, you must normalize control. If the people around you spend every paycheck, you must direct yours. If the people around you complain without changing, you must observe and act. If the people around you laugh at discipline, you must build before you show. Build before you show. Because mental programming is contagious. If you listen to broke thinking long enough, you start calling it wisdom. You start believing that budgeting is restrictive. You start believing that saving is impossible. You start believing that debt is normal. You start believing that emotional spending is self-care. You start believing that long-term discipline is boring. But the truth does not care what is normal. Normal is not always healthy. Normal is not always free. Normal is not always wise. If you want a different life, you must build a different mind. Change the mind. Change the money. Change the future. Start with the language you use. Stop saying, "I am bad with money." Say, "I am learning to manage money with discipline." Stop saying, "I cannot save." Say, "I have not built a saving system yet." Stop saying, "I always mess up." Say, "I am identifying the pattern and replacing it." Stop saying, "It is too late." Say, "The next decision still belongs to me." This is not fake positivity. This is mental responsibility. Your words train your behavior. If you keep speaking like a powerless person, you will act like one. If you speak like someone under command, you give your mind a new instruction. Control the habit, control the future. That includes the habit of thought. You must audit your thoughts like you audit your spending. Because some thoughts are expensive. The thought, "I deserve this," can cost you hundreds. The thought, "Everyone else is doing it," can cost you years. The thought, "I will start later," can cost you momentum. The thought, "I cannot change," can cost you your identity. Every habit has a cost. Even mental habits. So when a weak thought appears, do not obey it automatically. Challenge it. When your mind says, "Buy this to feel better," answer, "I choose freedom over comfort." When your mind says, "Do not check the account," answer, "What I measure improves." When your mind says, "You are too far behind," answer, "The owner asks better questions." When your mind says, "You need to impress them," answer, "Build before you show." That is how you reprogram yourself. Not by waiting for confidence. By giving yourself proof. Every responsible action gives your mind evidence. Every tracked expense gives evidence. Every saved amount gives evidence. Every paid bill gives evidence. Every avoided impulse gives evidence. Every hour spent learning gives evidence. Over time, your mind stops saying, "I cannot control money," because your behavior has proven otherwise. Confidence is built through proof. Not wishes. Proof. If you want money confidence, stop waiting to feel confident and start acting like a person who can be trusted. Start small. Start today. Look at your account. Write down your expenses. Choose one leak and close it. Choose one debt and plan a payment. Choose one skill and study it daily. Choose one purchase and delay it. Choose one habit and control it. Small acts of ownership build a new identity, and that identity builds independence. Because financial independence is not only about having enough money. It is about no longer being mentally controlled by money. No longer panicking because you refuse to look. No longer spending because you feel small. No longer blaming because blame is easier than change. No longer drifting because drifting feels less painful than discipline. Choose freedom over comfort. Comfort says, avoid the truth. Freedom says, face it. Comfort says, blame the world. Freedom says, own the next move. Comfort says, you cannot change. Freedom says, you can repeat a better habit. You have a choice, and that choice begins in the mind. The mind creates the behavior. The behavior creates the pattern. The pattern creates the financial life. So if you want a different financial life, do not only chase different numbers. Build a different mind. A serious mind. A calm mind. An owner's mind. A mind that observes instead of avoids. A mind that directs instead of reacts. A mind that builds before it shows. A mind that chooses freedom over comfort. You have now learned that your money follows your mind, and that financial independence begins when you stop blaming, start observing, and think like an owner. But this is only the beginning. Because once you understand this, you must face the next truth. Chapter 4. Build wealth before you look wealthy. Build wealth before you look wealthy. That is the truth that protects you from one of the most dangerous traps in modern life. The trap of appearing successful before you have built success. The trap of looking rich while being financially weak. The trap of trading your future for an image. Many people do not go broke because they have no ambition. They go broke because they are trying to look like their ambition has already paid off. They want the symbol before the substance. They want the attention before the foundation. They want the appearance before the ownership. That is dangerous. Because looking successful too early can destroy real success. Build before you show. Stack before you shine. That is the key. You have a choice. You can use your money to create an image, or you can use your money to create power. You can use your income to buy applause, or you can use your income to buy options. You can look wealthy for a moment, or you can become financially strong for years. Do not trade freedom for image. This is where many people lose the game quietly. Not because they are lazy, not because they are stupid, but because they are addicted to being seen. They want people to believe they are doing well. They want friends to notice. They want strangers to approve. They want the car, the clothes, the apartment, the dinners, the posts, the lifestyle, the proof. But proof for other people can become pressure for you. And pressure is expensive. When you buy things to be respected, you make other people the boss of your money. When you spend to be admired, you turn your future into a performance. When you need the image of success, you become vulnerable to every trend, every comparison, every insecure thought, every quiet fear that says, you are not enough unless they can see it. You do not need their permission. You do not need their permission to build quietly. You do not need their permission to drive something modest. You do not need their permission to keep your expenses low. You do not need their permission to live below your ego. You do not need their permission to become wealthy in private. Build before you show. Stack before you shine. Look at the person who finances a car they can barely afford because they want respect. They tell themselves it is a reward. They tell themselves they work hard. They tell themselves people will take them seriously. But every month, the payment arrives. Insurance rises. Maintenance costs more. Fuel costs more. The car looks good, but the owner feels trapped. The applause lasted a moment. The payment lasts for years. That is not freedom. That is image with interest. Now look at another person. Same income. Same desire to be respected. But a different identity. They drive a modest car. Not because they hate comfort. Not because they have no ambition. But because they understand timing. They understand that every dollar locked into image is a dollar not building options. They invest the difference. They build savings. They reduce debt. They develop skills. They create breathing room. One buys applause. The other buys freedom. Do not trade freedom for image. That sentence must become a rule. Because financial independence requires you to separate status from progress. Status is what people see. Progress is what your future feels. Status can be rented. Progress must be earned. Status can be financed. Progress must be built. Status can impress people who do not pay your bills. Progress protects you when life changes. Visibility is not victory. Ownership is victory. That is the key. A person can have the expensive car and no emergency fund. Visibility is not victory. A person can wear designer clothes and carry credit card debt. Visibility is not victory. A person can post beautiful meals and avoid checking their bank account. Visibility is not victory. A person can live in a luxury apartment and be one missed paycheck away from panic. Visibility is not victory. Ownership is victory. Owning your time. Owning your decisions. Owning your savings. Owning your skills. Owning your habits. Owning your future. That is victory. This chapter is not telling you to never enjoy nice things. It is telling you to stop putting nice things before strong foundations. It is not about hating comfort. It is about discipline. It is not about judging success. It is about building real success in the right order. Foundation first. Image later. Stability first. Lifestyle later. Ownership first. Applause later. Build before you show. Stack before you shine. You must understand the order. First, you control spending. Then you build savings. Then you reduce toxic debt. Then you increase skills. Then you invest with patience. Then you expand your life from strength, not insecurity. That is the order. Most people reverse it. They expand the lifestyle first. They buy the look first. They chase the feeling first. Then they wonder why they have no peace. They wonder why every month feels heavy. They wonder why more income does not create more freedom. Because their money is serving an image instead of a mission. Money without a mission becomes performance. And performance will drain you. You have a choice. You can perform success, or you can prepare for freedom. You can buy the costume, or you can build the character. You can impress people now, or you can become independent later. Choose freedom over comfort. Choose freedom over recognition. Choose freedom over temporary validation. The need to look successful is not harmless. It changes your decisions. It makes you say yes when you should say no. It makes you finance what you cannot afford. It makes you ignore your budget. It makes you chase upgrades before you have stability. It makes you feel poor while owning expensive things. That is a trap. And the trap works because it touches your identity. You do not just want the thing. You want what the thing says about you. You want it to say you made it. You want it to say you are important. You want it to say you are not behind. You want it to say you are worthy. But no object can give you an identity you have not built through discipline. A purchase can change how people see you for a moment. Discipline changes who you become forever. That is the key. So stop buying symbols of confidence and start building evidence of confidence. Evidence is savings. Evidence is low debt. Evidence is a skill that makes you more valuable. Evidence is a simple lifestyle you can afford. Evidence is money invested quietly. Evidence is the ability to say no without fear. Evidence is knowing you can handle an emergency. Evidence is not needing to impress someone who has no authority over your future. Build evidence, not image. Control the habit, control the future. This means you need practical rules. Rule 1. Never upgrade your lifestyle only because your ego feels ready. Upgrade when your foundation can support it. Rule 2. Before any major purchase, ask, does this make me more free or more dependent? Rule 3. Do not buy something because you want to be seen with it. Buy it only if it serves your life without weakening your future. Rule 4. Protect the gap between your income and your expenses. That gap is where freedom is built. Rule 5. Celebrate progress privately before you display anything publicly. That is discipline. It is quiet. It is mature. It is serious. And it works over time. The world will tempt you to reverse the order. The world will tell you to show first. Spend first. Upgrade first. Prove first. Finance first. Post first. But the world does not live with your consequences. The world does not pay your bills. The world does not feel your anxiety when payments stack up. The world will admire your image for 3 seconds and forget you. You will live with the debt. You will live with the pressure. You will live with the stress. So do not let people who do not carry your burden influence how you spend your money. You do not need their permission. You need a mission. And your mission is freedom. Not pretending. Not performing. Not chasing status. Freedom. When you build quietly, you may feel invisible for a while. Let it happen. When you say no, people may misunderstand. Let them misunderstand. When you choose the modest path, some may think you are behind. Let them think. The goal is not to look ahead. The goal is to actually get ahead. Build before you show. Stack before you shine. Because one day, the quiet builder has something the performer does not have. Peace. Options. Ownership. The performer has stories. The builder has stability. The performer has attention. The builder has control. The performer has payments. The builder has margin. The performer has image. The builder has independence. Visibility is not victory. Ownership is victory. And ownership begins when you stop needing your progress to be visible. You can save quietly. You can invest quietly. You can learn quietly. You can work quietly. You can build quietly. You can change your life without announcing every step. That is strength. Real wealth is not what people see. Real wealth is what protects you when life changes. It is what protects you when the car breaks down, when the job changes, when the economy shifts, when opportunity appears, when pressure comes, when you need to make a decision without begging, panicking, borrowing, or pretending. Real wealth gives you room to breathe. Real wealth gives you time to think. Real wealth gives you power to choose. That is what you are building. Not an image. A life. So from this point forward, stop asking, does this make me look successful? Ask, does this make me stronger? Stop asking, will people respect this? Ask, will my future thank me for this? Stop asking, can I make the payment? Ask, does this protect my freedom? That is the difference between looking wealthy and building wealth. That is the difference between performance and power. That is the difference between being seen and being free. You have now learned that looking successful too early can destroy real success, and that real wealth is built quietly through ownership, restraint, and discipline. But this is only the beginning. Because once you understand this, you must face the next truth. Chapter 5. Master the gap between income and ego. Master the gap between income and ego. That gap is where your financial future is decided. Not only in how much you earn. Not only in how hard you work. Not only in how much ambition you claim to have. Your financial strength is built in the space between what comes in and what goes out. The space between income and expenses. The space between opportunity and impulse. The space between growth and ego. That gap is your power. Protect it. Because when your ego rises with your income, progress disappears. Do not let your ego eat your increase. That is the key. You can work for years to earn more, only to have your ego spend the increase before your future receives anything. You can get a raise, a promotion, a bonus, a better job, a new client, a stronger month, and still remain trapped if every increase becomes a lifestyle upgrade. More money does not automatically create more freedom. More money only magnifies the person managing it. A bigger paycheck cannot fix a small mindset. Say that again. A bigger paycheck cannot fix a small mindset. If the mind is undisciplined, more income becomes more spending. If the identity is insecure, more income becomes more proving. If the habits are weak, more income becomes more leakage. If the ego is hungry, more income becomes more pressure. That is why some people earn more and still feel broke. Their income grew, but their discipline did not. Their title changed, but their habits stayed the same. Their paycheck increased, but their thinking remained trapped in the same old pattern. They did not build more freedom. They built a more expensive prison. You have a choice. You can let every raise become evidence of maturity. Or you can let every raise become fuel for ego. You can use more income to buy options. Or you can use more income to buy validation. You can pay the future first. Or you can feed the ego first and wonder why nothing changes. Pay the future first. Feed the ego last. That rule can change your life. After a promotion, many people make the same mistake. Before the new income has even stabilized, they upgrade everything. A better apartment. More expensive restaurants. New clothes. More frequent trips. A better car. More subscriptions. Higher standards for comfort. A louder lifestyle. They say, "I deserve this." And maybe they do. But they also deserve peace. They deserve savings. They deserve less debt. They deserve the power to walk away from bad situations. They deserve an emergency fund. They deserve investments. They deserve skills that increase their value. They deserve a future that is not constantly sacrificed to the ego of the present. Do not confuse deserving with spending. That is where people fall apart. You may deserve better, but that does not mean every desire deserves funding. You may work hard, but that does not mean your future should be robbed every time you feel tired. You may have earned more money, but that money still needs direction. Money without direction disappears. And increased money without increased discipline disappears faster. That is the danger of lifestyle inflation. It does not always arrive as one reckless decision. It arrives quietly. One upgrade at a time. One new normal at a time. One comfort at a time. One justification at a time. The apartment is only a little more expensive. The car payment is only slightly higher. The dinners are just part of your new life. The clothes make you feel more professional. The vacations help you recover. The subscriptions are small. The convenience is deserved. Then you look up, and the raise is gone. The promotion happened, but the pressure remained. The income increased, but the gap did not. And without the gap, there is no freedom. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is where savings live. It is where debt reduction lives. It is where investing lives. It is where opportunity lives. It is where peace lives. It is where independence begins. Protect the gap. Control the habit. Control the future. This is not about living in misery. It is not about never enjoying money. It is not about refusing every improvement. It is about order. It is about maturity. It is about making sure your future is funded before your ego is entertained. It is not about deprivation. It is about direction. It is not about being cheap. It is about being disciplined. It is not about hating lifestyle. It is about earning lifestyle without weakening your foundation. That is the key. Lifestyle can improve, but only after the future has been paid first. Pay the future first. Feed the ego last. When more money comes in, your first question should not be, "What can I buy now?" Your first question should be, "What does this make possible for my freedom? Can this raise build my emergency fund faster? Can this bonus reduce high-interest debt? Can this promotion help me invest in a certification, a course, a tool, a skill, or a business foundation? Can this increase help me save for a move, build a cushion, or create options? Can this money reduce pressure instead of creating more payments?" The owner asks better questions. The ego asks, how can I look bigger? The owner asks, how can I become stronger? The ego asks, how can I reward myself now? The owner asks, how can I protect myself later? The ego asks, who will notice? The owner asks, what will compound? You do not need their permission to choose the owner's path. You do not need their permission to keep your lifestyle stable after your income rises. You do not need their permission to save quietly. You do not need their permission to say no to the expensive trip, the bigger apartment, the nicer car, the unnecessary upgrade, or the social pressure that tells you to spend just because you can. Build before you show. Stack before you shine. Do not let people who spend everything they earn teach you how to handle increase. That is dangerous. Many people celebrate income but ignore retention. They know how to make money, but they do not know how to keep it. They know how to earn, but not how to direct. They know how to upgrade, but not how to build. They confuse movement with progress. Earning more is movement. Keeping more is progress. Investing in skills is progress. Reducing debt is progress. Increasing savings is progress. Creating margin is progress. Becoming less dependent is progress. That is what you must measure. Not the applause. Not the appearance. Not the upgrade. Progress. Visibility is not victory. Ownership is victory. You can look like you are winning and still be financially fragile. You can have better clothes, better dinners, better photos, better vacations, and still have no margin. That is not strength. That is exposure. That is a life that looks polished on the outside and feels unstable on the inside. You are not here to perform stability. You are here to build it. So when your income increases, slow down. Do not rush into a new identity. Do not let the first feeling become the first purchase. Let the increase sit. Let the mind calm down. Let the numbers speak. Before you upgrade anything, create a plan. Decide the percentage that goes to savings. Decide the percentage that goes to debt. Decide the percentage that goes to investing. Decide the percentage that goes to skill building. Then, and only then, decide what portion can improve lifestyle. That is mature money behavior. That is command. That is how you prevent your ego from eating your increase. Because your ego is never satisfied. Give it a little, it wants more. Give it a new apartment, it wants a better neighborhood. Give it a better car, it wants a newer model. Give it a nicer wardrobe, it wants a more expensive one. Give it attention, it wants admiration. Give it admiration, it wants status. If ego leads, expenses expand forever. If discipline leads, freedom expands. Choose freedom over comfort. Choose freedom over image. Choose freedom over proving. You must become strong enough to let people underestimate you while you build. Let them think you are not upgrading because you cannot. Let them think you are boring. Let them think you are too careful. Let them think whatever they want. You do not need their permission. Your goal is not to look like your income increased. Your goal is to make sure your freedom increased. That is a different standard. A serious person does not ask, "Can I afford the payment?" A serious person asks, "What does this payment prevent me from building?" A serious person does not ask, "Do I deserve this?" A serious person asks, "Has my future been paid first?" A serious person does not ask, "Will this make me look successful?" A serious person asks, "Will this make me more independent?" That is the identity shift. You are not just trying to earn more money. You are becoming the kind of person who can handle more money. There is a difference. Many people want higher income before they build higher discipline. But if discipline does not rise with income, the increase will not create freedom. It will create a more expensive version of the same stress. A bigger paycheck cannot fix a small mindset. So train now. Even if your income is not where you want it to be, train the gap now. Save a portion now. Track your spending now. Reduce waste now. Study skills now. Build restraint now. Practice saying no now. Because the habits you build with little will follow you when you have more. If you cannot manage a small gap, you will not protect a larger one. Control the habit, control the future. The goal is not to freeze your life forever. The goal is to expand from strength, to enjoy from stability, to spend from clarity, to upgrade from ownership, to reward yourself without betraying yourself. That is real maturity. That is financial discipline. That is how income becomes independence instead of image. Your future does not need every extra dollar forever. But it needs the first claim. It needs priority. It needs proof that you are serious. It needs you to stop putting ego at the front of the line. Pay the future first. Feed the ego last. Let that become your rule after every raise, every bonus, every promotion, every strong month, every unexpected payment, every opportunity. Before the ego speaks, fund the future. Before lifestyle expands, strengthen the foundation. Before you show more, own more. Before you spend more, become more secure. Build before you show. Because the person who masters the gap between income and ego becomes powerful. That person can earn more without becoming reckless. That person can rise without losing control. That person can improve life without destroying progress. That person can enjoy money without being owned by it. That is the goal. Not just more income, more control, more stability, more options, more freedom. You have now learned that the gap between what you earn and what you spend determines your financial strength, and that your future must be paid before your ego is fed. But this is only the beginning. Because once you understand this, you must face the next truth. Chapter 6. Kill the habits that keep you dependent. Kill the habits that keep you dependent. That is the truth of this chapter. Not manage them. Not excuse them. Not decorate them with better language. Kill them. Because financial dependence is not always built by one massive mistake. It is often built through repeated small weaknesses. The little leaks. The small excuses. The casual purchases. The emotional spending. The ignored subscription. The avoided budget. The daily comfort that quietly becomes a monthly burden. Small leaks sink big ships. That is the key. Most people look for the dramatic reason they are stuck. They want to blame one bad month, one emergency, one bill, one unfair situation. And sometimes life does hit hard. Sometimes the pressure is real. But you must be honest. Many times, the reason you cannot move forward is not one giant financial disaster. It is 100 tiny decisions you keep repeating without command. The coffee you do not track. The delivery you order because you are tired. The subscription you forgot but keep paying. The impulse purchase that felt harmless. The weekend spending you never review. The upgrade you did not need. The bill you avoided until it became worse. Small leaks sink big ships. And if you do not face the leaks will become chains. You have a choice. You can keep pretending the little habits do not matter. Or you can become serious enough to understand that your future is being shaped by what you repeat. Not what you intend. Not what you post. Not what you say you want. What you repeat. Control the habit, control the future. That is not a slogan. That is a law. If you repeat avoidance, you build confusion. If you repeat emotional spending, you build pressure. If you repeat convenience without limits, you build dependence. If you repeat discipline, you build strength. If you repeat tracking, you build awareness. If you repeat saving, you build options. If you repeat restraint, you build freedom. Control the habit, control the future. Look at the person who says, "I cannot save." They say it with certainty. They say it like it is a fact. They say it like the world has made the decision for them. But then the month tells a different story. Hundreds spent on convenience. Food ordered because planning felt annoying. Clothes bought because boredom needed entertainment. Small online purchases made because stress needed a distraction. Subscriptions renewed without being used. Rides taken because leaving earlier required discipline. Late fees paid because bills were avoided. They do not need shame. Shame does not build freedom. They need awareness. They need a system. Track it. Face it. Fix it. That is the process. Track it. Face it. Fix it. Not because you are bad. Because you are responsible. Not because you should hate yourself. Because you should stop betraying yourself. Not because every small purchase is evil. Because every repeated unconscious habit has a cost. Every habit has a cost. And the cost is not only money. The cost is confidence. The cost is peace. The cost is options. The cost is your ability to trust yourself. Every time you tell yourself you will stop and then continue, you weaken your self-respect. Every time you avoid the numbers, you train yourself to fear reality. Every time you spend without direction, you teach your future that your impulses are in charge. That must end. Do not negotiate with your weakness. That phrase must become a command inside you. Do not negotiate with your weakness. Your weakness will always have a reason. It will say you are tired. It will say you deserve it. It will say it is only once. It will say you will start next week. It will say everyone else does it. It will say one small purchase does not matter. It will say life is short. It will say discipline is too strict. It will say comfort is necessary. Do not negotiate. Because the weak part of you is not trying to build your freedom. It is trying to protect your comfort. And comfort is not always your friend. Sometimes comfort is the chain. Sometimes comfort is the reason your future keeps waiting. Sometimes comfort is the voice that keeps you dependent. Choose freedom over comfort. It is not about perfection. It is about discipline. It is not about never enjoying life. It is about not letting enjoyment become escape. It is not about hating small pleasures. It is about making sure small pleasures do not steal big freedom. That is the key. You must identify the habits that quietly steal from you. Not just the obvious ones. The quiet ones. The habit of not checking your account. The habit of buying when you feel anxious. The habit of rewarding every hard day with spending. The habit of saying yes because you fear being left out. The habit of scrolling until you want things you did not want before. The habit of using convenience as a lifestyle instead of a tool. The habit of waiting until the end of the month to see what is left. The habit of avoiding the budget because it makes you uncomfortable. These are not small when they repeat. Small repeated becomes large. Small leaks sink big ships. So you must become a person who stops leaks early. A disciplined person does not wait until the ship is sinking to respect the water. A disciplined person notices the leak, names the leak, blocks the leak, then builds a system so the same leak does not return next month. Track it, face it, fix it. Start with tracking. For 30 days, write down every expense. Every single one. Do not trust memory. Memory protects ego. Numbers expose truth. Write it down. Food, drinks, apps, fees, purchases, subscriptions, transportation, small treats, random charges, everything. At the end of the week, look. Do not run. Look. That moment matters. Because when you look, you take power back. What you ignore controls you. What you measure improves. You cannot fix what you refuse to face. Then face it. Ask yourself the serious questions. Where is my money leaking? Which purchases are emotional? Which expenses are convenience pretending to be necessity? Which subscriptions are draining me quietly? Which habits happen when I am tired, lonely, bored, stressed, or insecure? Which people or situations trigger spending I did not plan? These questions are not comfortable. Good. Comfort is not the goal. Freedom is the goal. Choose freedom over comfort. Then fix it. Not with vague promises. With automatic rules. Cancel what drains you. Automate what builds you. Remove temptation before it tests you. That is the system. Cancel what drains you. If the subscription does not serve your life, cancel it. If the membership is unused, cancel it. If the app is only a doorway to impulse, delete it. If the service exists because you forgot about it, remove it. Stop letting quiet charges disrespect your future. Automate what builds you. Automatic savings. Automatic debt payments. Automatic investing when appropriate. Automatic transfers into an emergency fund. Automatic systems that move money before your mood gets involved. Do not rely on willpower every time. Build a system stronger than your feelings. Remove temptation before it tests you. Unsave your card from shopping sites. Turn off promotional emails. Stop browsing when you are bored. Do not walk through financial traps and call it discipline. Do not keep weakness within arm's reach and act surprised when it wins. Do not negotiate with your weakness. You do not need their permission to become strict with your environment. You do not need their permission to say, I am not eating out this week. You do not need their permission to decline the plan. You do not need their permission to cook at home. You do not need their permission to delete the app. You do not need their permission to stop living like every craving is a command. Build before you show. Build the habit before you show the result. Build the system before you expect peace. Build the routine before you expect confidence. Build the discipline before you expect independence. Because financial dependence is often a routine. And financial independence must become a routine too. You cannot just want freedom. You must schedule freedom. You must automate freedom. You must defend freedom. You must repeat freedom in small boring decisions until freedom becomes your normal state. That is how change happens. Not through one emotional decision. Through repetition. A person who saves automatically every payday is building a freedom habit. A person who reviews spending every Sunday is building an awareness habit. A person who waits 24 hours before non-essential purchases is building a restraint habit. A person who cooks most meals at home is building a preparation habit. A person who studies one skill every night instead of scrolling is building an income habit. These habits are not loud, but they are powerful. They do not impress people immediately, but they protect you later. Visibility is not victory. Ownership is victory. And ownership begins when you stop letting your habits run your life without supervision. You must become the supervisor of your own behavior. You must watch the patterns. Correct the patterns. Replace the patterns. Repeat the better patterns. When you fail, do not spiral. Correct. When you overspend, do not hide. Review. When you miss a rule, do not quit. Reset. When temptation wins once, do not give it the month. Take the next decision back. That is discipline. Discipline is not never slipping. Discipline is refusing to let a slip become an identity. The old you says, I already messed up, so it does not matter. The new you says, the next decision still belongs to me. That is the key. The next decision still belongs to you. You are not powerless because you made mistakes. You are only powerless when you refuse ownership. You can start again today. You can cancel one leak today. You can track one account today. You can prepare one meal today. You can delay one purchase today. You can automate one transfer today. You can remove one temptation today. Do not wait for a perfect life to build disciplined habits. Build disciplined habits so your life becomes less chaotic. Small leaks sink big ships, but small repairs save them. Small rules protect them. Small disciplines steer them. Small daily decisions turn the ship around. Control the habit, control the future. You have a choice. Keep feeding the habits that keep you dependent, or kill them with awareness, systems, and repetition. Keep saying you cannot save, or track it, face it, and fix it. Keep negotiating with weakness, or decide that your future is no longer available for sacrifice. Choose freedom over comfort. Because financial independence is not only built by big income, smart investing, or lucky timing. It is built by the person who can control the ordinary habits that drain everyone else. The person who can say no. The person who can prepare. The person who can delay. The person who can measure. The person who can build quietly. That person becomes difficult to control. That person becomes financially stronger every month. That person is you, if you repeat the right habits long enough. You have now learned that financial dependence is built through repeated small weaknesses, and that freedom begins when you track them, face them, fix them, and stop negotiating with your weakness. But this is only the beginning. Because once you understand this, you must face the next truth. Chapter 7. Turn work into a weapon. Turn work into a weapon. That is the truth you must understand now. Work is not just a place you go. Work is not just hours you sell. Work is not just a paycheck that arrives and disappears. Work is a training ground. Work is a place where you build value, skill, reputation, discipline, patience, and leverage. If you treat work only as a paycheck, you will always depend on the paycheck. But if you treat work as a platform, you can become bigger than the job. That is the key. The financially independent person does not just work harder. The financially independent person becomes harder to replace. Increase your value. Increase your options. Repeat that until it changes how you show up. Increase your value. Increase your options. Because money follows value. Opportunity follows value. Trust follows value. Freedom follows value. If you want more options, you must become more valuable. Not louder. Not more entitled. Not more bitter. More valuable. You have a choice. You can clock in and wait for payday like the job owns your life. Or you can clock in and use the environment to sharpen yourself. You can complain about work every day and learn nothing. Or you can study the business, study the people, study the systems, study the problems, and build yourself into someone who can move differently. Do not just earn. Become valuable. That is the command. Most people go to work with one goal. Survive the day. Get through the shift. Make it to the weekend. Make it to payday. They do the minimum because they feel the company does not care. They protect their energy because they feel underpaid. They emotionally disconnect because they see work as a prison. And sometimes the workplace is difficult. Sometimes leadership is weak. Sometimes the pay is not enough. Sometimes the environment is frustrating. That may be true. But listen carefully. Do not let a bad workplace turn you into a low-value person. Do not let a frustrating job train you to be average. Do not let resentment steal your development. It is not about loving the job. It is about using the job. It is not about blind loyalty. It is about disciplined growth. It is not about being exploited. It is about becoming too skilled to be trapped. That is the key. You do not need their permission to build value. You do not need your manager to inspire you. You do not need your company to be perfect. You do not need everyone around you to be ambitious. You do not need applause to improve. You need ownership. Skill is freedom. Reputation is freedom. Value is freedom. Say it again. Skill is freedom. Reputation is freedom. Value is freedom. Look at two employees. Both clock in every day. Both have the same schedule. Both start with the same title. Both complain sometimes. Both want more money. But they move differently. The first employee only waits for payday. They do the bare minimum. They avoid responsibility. They learn only what they are forced to learn. They watch the clock. They blame the company. They say, "This place is not worth my effort." Month after month, year after year, they remain the same. Same skills. Same attitude. Same value. Same dependence. The second employee is different. They still want to be paid fairly. They still want better opportunities. But they refuse to waste the training ground. They learn the systems. They ask better questions. They observe how decisions are made. They improve communication. They solve problems without being chased. They build relationships. They become reliable. They learn software, sales, operations, customer behavior, leadership, writing, negotiation, organization, or whatever skill the environment can teach. Eventually, one depends on the job. The other becomes valuable beyond the job. That is the difference. Do not just earn. Become valuable. A paycheck pays your bills today. Skills create options tomorrow. A paycheck can stop if the company changes. Skills can move with you. A paycheck belongs to the position. Skill belongs to you. Reputation belongs to you. Discipline belongs to you. Value belongs to you. That is why work must become a weapon. Not a weapon against people. A weapon against dependence. A weapon against fear. A weapon against being trapped. A weapon against waiting. A weapon against the feeling that one employer controls your future. When you increase your value, you increase your options. And options are power. The person with no skills must accept whatever is offered. The person with no reputation must beg for trust. The person with no discipline must wait for someone else to rescue them. But the person with value can move. The person with skill can negotiate. The person with reputation can be recommended. The person with discipline can build. Increase your value. Increase your options. You must stop treating work as a prison and start treating it as a platform. A prison is where you only complain. A platform is where you build leverage. A prison is where you count the hours. A platform is where you sharpen the hours. A prison is where you wait for escape. A platform is where you prepare for elevation. Same job, different mind. Your money follows your mind. If your mind says, "This job is just a cage," you will only learn cage behavior. Avoidance, bitterness, minimum effort, emotional survival. But if your mind says, "This is a place where I can extract skill," your behavior changes. You begin to notice what others ignore. You begin to build while others drift. Build before you show. Build competence before you demand recognition. Build proof before you demand trust. Build skill before you demand opportunity. Build discipline before you expect freedom. That does not mean you let people disrespect you. It does not mean you accept abuse. It does not mean you stay forever. It means while you are there, you do not waste the opportunity to become stronger. Choose freedom over comfort. Comfort says, "Do only what is required." Freedom says, "Learn what will make you more valuable." Comfort says, complain with everyone else. Freedom says, observe what the complainers are missing. Comfort says, wait until someone promotes you. Freedom says, become the obvious person to trust. Comfort says, this is not my problem. Freedom says, solving problems increases my value. You have a choice. And that choice shows up every day. When you are at work, ask yourself serious questions. What skill can I learn here? What problem keeps repeating here? Who understands the business better than I do? What task do people avoid that I could master? What communication skill would make me more respected? What process could I improve? What responsibility could prepare me for the next level? What can I learn here that I can take with me? The owner asks better questions. The dependent worker only asks, when do I get paid? The owner asks, what am I becoming while I get paid? That is a different life. Because the goal is not just to survive work. The goal is to extract value from work. To become more skilled, more trusted, more useful, more aware, more disciplined, and more prepared. Then your job becomes more than income. It becomes training. It becomes leverage. It becomes a classroom that pays you. Do not just earn. Become valuable. This requires humility. You cannot become valuable if you think you already know everything. You cannot grow if every correction feels like disrespect. You cannot build reputation if you are unreliable. You cannot create options if your attitude makes people avoid you. You cannot demand leadership while refusing responsibility. It is not about ego. It is about skill. It is not about being seen. It is about becoming useful. It is not about doing everything for approval. It is about building a reputation that travels beyond the room. Reputation matters. People talk. People remember who shows up. People remember who solves problems. People remember who stays calm under pressure. People remember who communicates clearly. People remember who can be trusted with responsibility. People also remember who complains, disappears, blames, avoids, and creates drama. Your reputation is either building your freedom or building your cage. Control the habit. Control the future. Be on time. Finish what you start. Learn the tools. Document your wins. Communicate clearly. Ask for feedback. Improve without being chased. Study the people who are already where you want to go. Build relationships without begging. Bring solutions, not only problems. These are not glamorous actions, but they create leverage. A disciplined worker becomes rare because most people are emotionally inconsistent. They work hard only when watched. They care only when rewarded immediately. They improve only when forced. They blame before they learn. They want more money before becoming more valuable. Do not be that person. A bigger paycheck cannot fix a small mindset. If you want greater income, you must build greater value. If you want better opportunities, you must build better skills. If you want financial independence, you must stop seeing work only as something to escape and start seeing work as something to use. Use it to learn. Use it to build discipline. Use it to understand money. Use it to understand people. Use it to understand systems. Use it to build credibility. Use it to fund your future. Pay the future first. Feed the ego last. When your paycheck comes, do not let it disappear. Direct it. Save from it. Invest in skill from it. Reduce debt from it. Build stability from it. Work creates income, but discipline turns income into freedom. Without discipline, the paycheck becomes a temporary relief. With discipline, the paycheck becomes a tool. That is the key. You are not working just to consume. You are working to build. You are working to become stronger. You are working to become less dependent. And if your current job truly has no future, then still use it. Use it to fund the exit. Use it to train your discipline. Use evenings to build a skill. Use weekends to prepare. Use the frustration as fuel, not as an excuse. Do not just hate the cage. Build the key. Skill is freedom. Reputation is freedom. Value is freedom. The more value you build, the less fear owns you. You stop clinging to one paycheck with desperation. You stop feeling helpless when conditions change. You stop waiting for someone to notice your pain. You start creating evidence that you can contribute at a higher level. And that changes how you walk. Not with arrogance. With quiet confidence. The confidence of someone who is building before they show. The confidence of someone who is becoming valuable in private. The confidence of someone who understands that every skill learned can become leverage later. That is how work becomes a weapon. Not because you worship the job. Because you refuse to waste the training. Not because you trust one employer with your future. Because you are building a future that does not depend on one employer. Not because work is always fair. Because your development is your responsibility. You have now learned that work is not just a paycheck. It is a training ground for value, skill, reputation, and opportunity. But this is only the beginning. Because once you understand this, you must face the next truth. Chapter 8. Save like your future is watching. Save like your future is watching. Because it is. Every time you get paid, your future is watching. Every time you spend without thinking, your future is watching. Every time you delay saving because you want comfort now, your future is watching. And one day, that future will become your present. One day, the person you are becoming will have to live with the decisions you are making right now. That is why saving is not weakness. Saving is not fear. Saving is not small thinking. Saving is self-respect in financial form. That is the key. A person who saves is not saying, "I am scared of life." A person who saves is saying, "I respect myself enough to prepare." A person who saves is not saying, "I never want to enjoy money." A person who saves is saying, "I refuse to let every emergency become a crisis." A person who saves is not hiding from the world. A person who saves is building power quietly. Savings by breathing room. Repeat that. Savings by breathing room. And breathing room is not a small thing. Breathing room means you can think before you react. Breathing room means a surprise bill does not destroy your month. Breathing room means you do not have to borrow from someone who will use it against you. Breathing room means you do not have to put every emergency on a credit card. Breathing room means you are not forced to stay in every situation because you have no cushion. A person without savings is forced to obey pressure. They obey emergencies. They obey lenders. They obey bad employers. They obey panic. They obey the next bill. They obey whatever happens next because they have no space between life and desperation. That is not freedom. That is exposure. You have a choice. You can spend everything and hope life stays gentle. Or you can save consistently and prepare for life to be life. Because life will not always ask for permission before it tests you. Cars break. Phones fail. Medical bills arrive. Jobs change. Rent rises. Family needs help. Opportunities appear at inconvenient times. Problems do not wait until your budget feels ready. Preparation turns emergencies into inconveniences. That phrase must become part of you. Preparation turns emergencies into inconveniences. Look at two people with the same problem. Their car breaks down. Same repair. Same cost. Same frustration. The first person has no emergency fund. The repair becomes a crisis. They panic. They borrow. They delay another bill. They use a credit card they already did not want to use. The repair becomes more than a repair. It becomes stress. It becomes shame. It becomes a fight. It becomes a late payment. It becomes another chain. The second person has savings. They do not enjoy paying for the repair. Nobody enjoys that. But they handle it. They transfer the money. They fix the car. They adjust the plan. They rebuild the savings. The problem was real, but it did not control them. Same problem. Different preparation. That is the power of saving. Savings do not stop life from happening. Savings stop life from owning you every time it happens. Savings buy breathing room. That is why saving must become a non-negotiable identity habit. Not something you do only when money feels abundant. Not something you do only after every desire has been satisfied. Not something you do only when the month is easy. Saving must happen first. Saving must happen before the mood, before the ego, before the upgrade, before the impulse, before the world reaches into your pocket. Save first. Save always. Save like freedom depends on it. Because it does. If you only save what is left over, your future will receive leftovers. And for many people, there are no leftovers because the world is skilled at taking whatever is unprotected. Convenience will take it. Subscriptions will take it. Restaurants will take it. Impulses will take it. Ego will take it. Social pressure will take it. Boredom will take it. Money without direction disappears. So direct it first. Pay the future first. Feed the ego last. That is not just a financial rule. It is an identity statement. It says, my future is not optional. It says, my peace is not negotiable. It says, my freedom will not wait until my impulses are finished. It says, I am becoming someone who can be trusted. Control the habit, control the future. Even small amounts matter. Do not disrespect small beginnings. Many people avoid saving because they cannot save a large amount. That is ego. That is all-or-nothing thinking. That is the mind trying to escape responsibility. If you cannot save a lot, save a little. If you cannot save 10%, save 5. If you cannot save 5, save 1. If you can only start with a small amount, start with a small amount. The point is not only the number. The point is the habit. The point is command. The point is proving that your future gets paid before your comfort gets entertained. Save first. Save always. Save like freedom depends on it. A person who saves $20 consistently is learning control. A person who saves $50 consistently is building trust. A person who saves $100 consistently is creating identity. The amount can grow later. But the identity must begin now. Do not wait until you make more money to become disciplined with money. That is how people stay trapped. They say, when I earn more, I will save. Then they earn more and spend more. They say, when things settle down, I will save. But things do not settle down by accident. They settle down when you build systems. They say, when I have extra, I will save. But extra money rarely survives an undisciplined environment. A bigger paycheck cannot fix a small mindset. You must become a saver before life feels perfect. That is the key. Saving is a vote for your future identity. Every time you save, you vote for the calm version of you, the prepared version of you, the independent version of you, the version of you that does not panic easily, the version of you that can say no, the version of you that has options. And options are power. Savings give you options before investments ever do. Savings give you stability before growth. Savings give you room to make better decisions. Without savings, you are forced into short-term thinking. Without savings, you sell your future to solve the present. Without savings, you accept bad terms because pressure is louder than wisdom. Savings buy breathing room. This is not about hoarding money. It is about building a foundation. Saving is the first wall between you and chaos. It is the first step toward independence. It is the first evidence that you are no longer living at the mercy of every event. And you must protect it. Do not build savings and then treat it like a shopping account. Do not call every desire an emergency. Do not use the emergency fund for ego purchases. Do not drain your peace because you were bored. An emergency fund is not there to prove you can spend. It is there to prove you can withstand pressure. Do not negotiate with your weakness. Your weakness will try to rename wants as needs. It will say the sale is an emergency. It will say the trip is necessary. It will say the upgrade matters. It will say you can replace the money later. It will say you have been disciplined long enough and deserve to loosen up. No. Protect the foundation. Choose freedom over comfort. You do not need their permission to save aggressively. You do not need their permission to be careful. You do not need their permission to say, I am building my cushion. You do not need their permission to skip the expensive plan. You do not need their permission to stop explaining why you are not spending. People who live unprepared may not understand preparation. That is fine. Build before you show. Saving is quiet. It does not impress people. It does not create instant applause. It does not look exciting from the outside. But inside your life, it changes everything. It lowers fear. It reduces panic. It gives you dignity. It makes you stand differently. It makes you think differently. It helps you stop making desperate decisions. That matters. A person with savings can pause. A person with savings can plan. A person with savings can negotiate. A person with savings can leave. A person with savings can wait. A person with savings can breathe. Savings buy breathing room. So build your saving system. First, decide the purpose. Emergency fund. Opportunity fund. Freedom fund. Name it clearly, because money with a name has direction. Second, automate it. Do not trust your mood. Do not wait until the end of the month. Move money when income arrives, even if it is small. Especially if it is small. Automatic saving trains your identity. Third, separate it. Keep savings away from daily spending. If it is too easy to access, it is too easy to betray. Fourth, rebuild it when used. If life forces you to use it for a real emergency, do not feel defeated. That is what it was there for. Use it. Then rebuild it. Preparation worked. Now prepare again. Track it. Face it. Fix it. That is how you create stability. And once stability grows, confidence grows. Not fake confidence. Not loud confidence. Real confidence. The confidence of someone who knows they have begun to protect their life. The confidence of someone who is no longer one small surprise away from emotional collapse. The confidence of someone who is building discipline quietly. That is financial maturity. It is not about looking wealthy. It is about becoming stable. It is not about showing people you have money. It is about making sure money can protect your peace. Visibility is not victory. Ownership is victory. And savings are part of ownership. You own more of your time when you have savings. You own more of your choices when you have savings. You own more of your emotional control when you have savings. You own more of your future when you have savings. That is why saving is serious. Not optional. Not leftover. Not casual. Serious. Save first. Save always. Save like freedom depends on it. Because the future version of you will either thank you or question you. The future version of you will either stand on the foundation you built or struggle under the pressure you ignored. The future version of you will either have room to breathe or be forced to obey. You are making that decision now. Every payday, every purchase, every rule, every transfer, every refusal, every time you choose freedom over comfort. You have now learned that saving is self-respect in financial form, and that preparation turns emergencies into inconveniences by giving you breathing room, stability, and power. But this is only the beginning. Because once you understand this, you must face the next truth. Chapter 9. Invest with patience, not panic. Invest with patience, not panic. That is the truth you must carry into your financial future. Investing is not gambling. Investing is not guessing. Investing is not chasing whatever is loud online. Investing is not throwing money at hype because you are afraid of being left behind. Investing is disciplined ownership over time. It is the quiet decision to put your money to work with strategy, education, patience, and emotional control. The impatient person looks for quick wins. The serious person builds slowly and consistently. Patience compounds. Panic destroys. That is the key. You have a choice. You can chase excitement, or you can build ownership. You can react to noise, or you can follow a plan. You can let fear and greed control your decisions, or you can become the kind of person who invests with discipline. Because the market will test your emotions. Trends will test your patience. Other people's profits will test your ego. Losses will test your fear. And if you do not have a plan, your mood will become your strategy. The plan must be stronger than the mood. Repeat that. The plan must be stronger than the mood. Many people do not lose because investing is impossible. They lose because they are emotionally unprepared. They buy when everyone is excited. They sell when everyone is afraid. They enter late because they want fast gains. They exit early because they cannot handle discomfort. They confuse movement with wisdom. They confuse noise with opportunity. That is not investing. That is emotional reaction. And emotional reaction is expensive. Look at the person who buys whatever is trending online. One week it is one stock. The next week it is a coin. Then a hot fund. Then a business idea. Then a rumor. They scroll. They see people bragging. They feel behind. They think, I need to get in now. So they buy. Not because they understand it. Not because it fits a plan. Not because they know the risk. They buy because their emotions feel urgent. Then the price drops. Now fear takes over. They sell. They panic. They blame the system. They promise to be smarter next time. Then the next trend appears, and they repeat the same cycle. Buy hype. Feel fear. Sell low. Repeat. That is not wealth building. That is financial self-sabotage. Patience compounds. Panic destroys. Now look at the serious person. This person does not invest to feel excited. This person invests to build ownership. They have savings first. They understand their debt. They know their goals. They learn before they act. They understand that risk is real. They diversify. They invest consistently. They do not put every dollar into one idea because the internet is loud. They do not confuse someone else's screenshot with a strategy. They give time the power to work. One reacts emotionally. The other follows a plan. That is the difference. Do not chase noise. Build ownership. That phrase must become your rule. Because noise will always be there. There will always be a new trend. A new prediction. A new fear. A new expert. A new panic. A new promise. A new shortcut. A new person telling you this is the moment you cannot miss. But you must remember this. Urgency is often the language of manipulation. If someone needs you emotional, they probably do not need you wise. If something requires panic, it probably does not respect your plan. If you feel rushed, slow down. If you feel greedy, slow down. If you feel terrified, slow down. A disciplined investor does not let the crowd hijack the mind. Your money follows your mind. If your mind is impatient, your investments become unstable. If your mind is greedy, your risk becomes reckless. If your mind is fearful, your decisions become weak. If your mind is disciplined, your investing can become disciplined. Change the mind. Change the money. Change the future. Investing must come after stability, education, and a clear strategy. That is the order. Do not invest money you need for rent. Do not invest your emergency fund. Do not invest because you are desperate. Do not invest because you hate your job and want one miracle to save you. Do not invest because someone online made you feel behind. That is not strategy. That is pressure. And pressure makes poor decisions. First, build stability. Save like your future is watching. Have breathing room. Prepare for emergencies. Reduce the kind of debt that eats your life. Know your monthly expenses. Control your spending. Build the foundation. Then educate yourself. Learn what you are buying. Learn the risks. Learn the difference between saving, investing, speculating, and gambling. Learn what diversification means. Learn why time matters. Learn why fees matter. Learn why emotions destroy discipline. Learn enough to stop handing your future to whatever sounds exciting. Then create a strategy. Decide your goals. Decide your timeline. Decide your risk level. Decide how much you will invest consistently. Decide what you will not touch. Decide what you will ignore. Decide before the emotion arrives. That is the key. The plan must be stronger than the mood. A plan says, I invest this amount regularly. A mood says, put everything in now. A plan says, I understand this takes time. A mood says, I need results immediately. A plan says, I will stay diversified. A mood says, this one thing is going to make me rich. A plan says, I will keep learning. A mood says, everyone else is doing it, so I should too. Do not let your mood manage your money. Control the habit, control the future. Investing is a habit, not just a financial habit, an emotional habit, a thinking habit, a patience habit, a restraint habit, a habit of choosing long-term ownership over short-term excitement. Choose freedom over comfort, because comfort wants certainty. Comfort wants immediate proof. Comfort wants quick success. Comfort wants to feel smart today. Comfort wants to avoid waiting. But freedom requires patience. Freedom requires consistency. Freedom requires the maturity to build when it feels boring. Freedom requires the ability to keep going when nobody is applauding. Build before you show. That applies to investing too. Do not invest so you can brag. Do not talk more than you build. Do not try to impress people with risky moves. Do not use investing as a personality. Use investing as a quiet tool for ownership. Build in silence. Learn in silence. Stay consistent in silence. Let the future reveal the discipline. Visibility is not victory. Ownership is victory. The goal is not excitement. The goal is ownership. Ownership of assets. Ownership of your choices. Ownership of your financial direction. Ownership of a future where your money is not only being spent, but also being put to work. That is why investing matters. Saving gives you stability. Investing gives your money the chance to grow over time. Saving protects you from emergencies. Investing helps you build long-term independence. Saving buys breathing room. Investing can build future options. But investing without discipline becomes danger. Investing without education becomes guessing. Investing without stability becomes desperation. Do not chase noise. Build ownership. You do not need their permission to be patient. You do not need their permission to avoid hype. You do not need their permission to say, "I do not understand this yet." You do not need their permission to invest slowly. You do not need their permission to choose boring consistency over dramatic risk. Many people will mock patience because patience does not entertain them. They want action. They want stories. They want quick wins. They want to feel like they are ahead. But fast emotions often create slow recovery. A reckless mistake can take years to repair. A patient habit can build strength for decades. Patience compounds. Panic destroys. Remember this when markets rise. When everyone is celebrating, stay disciplined. Do not let greed turn you into someone reckless. Remember this when markets fall. When everyone is afraid, stay disciplined. Do not let fear turn you into someone weak. Remember this when your investment feels boring. Boring can be powerful. Boring can be stable. Boring can be repeated. Boring can build. You do not need constant excitement from your financial plan. You need consistency. The serious person respects time. Time is not glamorous. Time does not shout. Time does not promise overnight transformation. But time rewards consistency. Time exposes impatience. Time punishes emotional behavior. Time gives disciplined ownership the chance to grow. That is why you cannot keep starting over. Every time you chase a new trend, you reset your discipline. Every time you panic, you interrupt the plan. Every time you follow the crowd, you give away ownership of your thinking. Every time you invest without understanding, you gamble with your future. Stop doing that. Track it. Face it. Fix it. Track your investing behavior. Are you consistent or emotional? Are you educated or guessing? Are you diversified or gambling on one idea? Are you investing from a plan or from pressure? Are you calm or addicted to checking every movement? Face the truth. Then fix the system. Automate what builds you. Use rules. Set limits. Learn regularly. Review calmly. Keep your emergency savings separate. Do not invest money you cannot afford to leave alone. Do not let every headline become a command. Do not negotiate with your weakness. Your weakness will say, "This is the one." Your weakness will say, "You are missing out." Your weakness will say, "You need to recover your losses fast." Your weakness will say, "Everyone is getting ahead except you." Your weakness will say, "Forget the plan." No. The plan must be stronger than the mood. A financially independent person is not controlled by every market movement. They are not controlled by hype. They are not controlled by panic. They are not controlled by jealousy. They are not controlled by the fear of missing out. They understand that wealth discipline is not only about what you buy. It is about the state of mind from which you buy it. That is maturity. It is not about being fearless. It is about being governed. It is not about predicting everything. It is about preparing wisely. It is not about quick wins. It is about disciplined ownership. You have a choice. Chase noise or build ownership. React emotionally or follow a plan. Seek excitement or seek independence. Choose freedom over comfort. Because financial independence is built by people who can wait. People who can learn. People who can stay calm. People who can repeat the right behaviors when the crowd is loud, when the news is dramatic, when the ego is hungry, and when fear is knocking. patience compounds. Panic destroys. Do not chase noise. Build ownership. You have now learned that investing is not gambling, guessing, or chasing hype. It is disciplined ownership over time, guided by patience, education, stability, and a plan stronger than your mood. But this is only the beginning. Because once you understand this, you must face the next truth. Chapter 10. Become impossible to financially control. Become impossible to financially control. That is the final truth. Because financial independence is not only about money. It is about personal power. It is about becoming the kind of person who cannot be moved, manipulated, pressured, or trapped so easily. It is about building a life where your decisions are not controlled by debt, impulse, fear, ego, emergencies, toxic people, or the desperation of the next paycheck. When you control your money, you control more of your life. When you control your habits, you control more of your future. When you control your time, you control more of your direction. When you control your emotions, fewer people can control your decisions. Control yourself, and you cannot be easily controlled. That is the key. You have a choice. You can live in a way that makes you easy to pressure, or you can live in a way that makes you difficult to trap. You can spend every dollar and wonder why you have no options. Or you can build margin, skill, savings, restraint, and ownership until pressure no longer owns your mind. Options are power. Preparation is power. And the person with no options is forced to accept things the prepared person can walk away from. That is not luck. That is preparation. Look at someone stuck in a toxic job. The manager disrespects them. The schedule drains them. The environment is heavy. Every morning feels like surrender. They want to leave, but they cannot. Not because they are weak as a person. Because their financial life has been built without protection. Debt is high. Savings are low. Expenses are heavy. Skills are not being developed. There is no plan. There is no cushion. There is no breathing room. So they stay. They obey pressure. They swallow disrespect. They keep showing up, not from strategy, but from fear. Now look at another person in the same kind of job. Same pressure. Same disrespect. Same desire to leave. But this person has prepared. They have savings. They have reduced unnecessary expenses. They have built skills after work. They have updated their resume. They have relationships. They have a plan. They can search calmly. They can negotiate. They can leave strategically instead of emotionally. Same problem. Different preparation. Options are power. Preparation is power. That is what this entire audiobook has been teaching you. Financial independence is not a fantasy. It is not a lucky escape. It is not one sudden moment where all pressure disappears. It is built by becoming the kind of person who makes pressure weaker because your discipline is stronger. Control yourself, and you cannot be easily controlled. If you cannot control spending, advertisers control you. If you cannot control ego, image controls you. If you cannot control habits, comfort controls you. If you cannot control emotions, panic controls you. If you cannot control time, distraction controls you. If you cannot control money, emergencies control you. And when all these things control you, other people can control you more easily. A lender can control you. A bad employer can control you. A toxic relationship can control you. A social circle can control you. A trend can control you. A fear can control you. A craving can control you. This is why financial discipline is not just financial. It is personal. It is spiritual in the practical sense. It is the discipline of no longer giving your life away one weak decision at a time. You do not need their permission. You do not need their permission to live below your ego. You do not need their permission to save quietly. You do not need their permission to stop buying things to impress people. You do not need their permission to say no. You do not need their permission to choose the long road. You do not need their permission to become the person money cannot break. Become the person money cannot break. That phrase must become a command. Because life will test you. Markets will move. Jobs will change. Bills will rise. People will misunderstand you. Temptations will appear. Your old habits will call your name. The world will keep selling comfort. The crowd will keep chasing image. Your ego will keep wanting proof. Your fear will keep asking for relief. And in those moments, you must return to the foundation. Do not spend to escape. Do not spend to impress. Spend with direction. Discipline is the price of freedom. Your money follows your mind. Build wealth before you look wealthy. Do not let your ego eat your increase. Small leaks sink big ships. Do not just earn. Become valuable. Save first. Save always. Save like freedom depends on it. Do not chase noise. Build ownership. Control yourself, and you cannot be easily controlled. This is not motivational decoration. This is the code. This is how you become financially difficult to manipulate. You think long-term when everyone else thinks emotionally. You live below your ego when everyone else expands every time they earn more. You build quietly when everyone else performs. You save when everyone else spends. You learn when everyone else complains. You invest with patience when everyone else chases panic. You choose freedom over comfort when everyone else chooses comfort and calls it freedom. That is the difference. It is not about being better than people. It is about being responsible for yourself. It is not about being perfect. It is about being governed. It is not about having no desires. It is about not being ruled by desire. It is not about fear. It is about discipline. That is the key. To become impossible to financially control, you must make certain decisions non-negotiable. Your future gets paid first. Your spending gets tracked. Your ego does not set your budget. Your savings are protected. Your skills are developed. Your habits are reviewed. Your debt is not ignored. Your time is not wasted without awareness. Your emotional state does not get unlimited access to your money. These are not suggestions. These are rules for freedom. Control the habit, control the future. Every day you are either building power or giving it away. Every purchase is a vote. Every hour is a vote. Every habit is a vote. Every yes and every no is a vote. You are voting for dependence or independence. You are voting for pressure or breathing room. You are voting for image or ownership. You are voting for comfort now or freedom later. Comfort now. Consequence later. Discipline now. Freedom later. Choose freedom over comfort. Not because comfort is evil, but because comfort without discipline becomes a cage. Comfort without limits makes you soft. Comfort without direction keeps you dependent. Comfort without ownership makes you easy to control. Freedom requires a stronger identity. You must become the kind of person who can say, "I do not need to prove anything with this purchase." You must become the kind of person who can say, "I can wait." You must become the kind of person who can say, "My future matters more than this impulse." You must become the kind of person who can say, "I will build before I show." You must become the kind of person who can say, "No one gets to control me through my lack of preparation." That is financial independence as an identity, not just a bank balance. An identity. Because a bank balance can rise and fall. But identity determines what you do when money comes in, when money goes out, when pressure rises, when opportunity appears, when nobody is watching, and when the old version of you wants control again. Financial independence begins inside the person. In the mind, in the habits, in the standards, in the rules, in the ability to make disciplined decisions repeatedly. Become the person money cannot break. That does not mean you never struggle. It means struggle does not immediately own you. It does not mean nothing bad happens. It means preparation gives you space. It does not mean you never feel fear. It means fear does not write every decision. It does not mean you become rich overnight. It means you stop living like your future belongs to your impulses. Options are power. Preparation is power. So build options. Keep expenses lower than your ego wants. Build emergency savings. Improve your skills. Reduce the debts that weaken your choices. Track your money. Invest with patience. Protect your time. Choose your relationships carefully. Stop explaining your discipline to people committed to chaos. Let them misunderstand while you build. Build before you show. The world does not need to see every step. You do not need public approval for private discipline. Let your foundation grow in silence. Let your confidence grow from proof. Let your future become stronger because of what you repeat when no one is watching. That is how you escape control. Not through rebellion without a plan. Through discipline with direction. Not through anger. Through ownership. Not through fantasy. Through consistent action. The person who cannot be financially controlled is not loud. They are prepared. They are not desperate. They are patient. They are not easily impressed. They are grounded. They are not chasing every trend. They have a plan. They are not spending to heal insecurity. They have command. Control yourself, and you cannot be easily controlled. This is the final identity. You are not just someone trying to save money. You are someone building independence. You are not just someone trying to budget. You are someone taking command. You are not just someone trying to earn more. You are someone increasing value. You are not just someone avoiding debt. You are someone protecting future choices. You are not just someone investing. You are someone building ownership. That is who you become. And the more you become that person, the less life can push you around financially. The less ego can hijack your money. The less fear can shrink your decisions. The less pressure can trap you. The less other people can use money, status, or desperation to control your direction. That is freedom. Not easy. Not instant. Not guaranteed without effort. But real. And it is built one disciplined decision at a time. You have now learned that financial independence is ultimately personal power, and that when you control your money, habits, time, and emotions, you become the kind of person who cannot be easily financially controlled. This is the final chapter, but it is not the end of the work. Because once you understand this, you must carry the lesson into your life. Control your money, control your habits, control your time, build before you show, choose freedom over comfort, and become the person money cannot break. Control your money. Control your habits. Control your time. Control the small decisions that nobody sees, because those small decisions are building the life that everybody will eventually notice. You do not need to chase comfort every time it calls you. You do not need to spend to prove you are enough. You do not need to look wealthy before you have built wealth. Build before you show. Save before you spend. Learn before you complain. Own before you impress. Choose freedom over comfort again and again and again, until discipline becomes your normal state. Financial independence is not about escaping work tomorrow. It is about becoming the kind of person who cannot be financially controlled. Not by pressure. Not by fear. Not by debt. Not by ego. Not by impulse. So today, do one thing. One serious thing. Cancel one wasteful expense. Save one amount. Track one account. Learn one skill. Make one decision that proves your future is now in charge. Start today, not later. Today.